Hello and welcome to week 2. So, one thing that's going to be different this week is that instead of trying to have you all upload worksheets by taking a picture or having to write stuff out, what I'm going to do is there's a Google form that's attached to the assignment with this video, and it's going to be multiple choice. And you guys are just going to have to go through and answer the multiple choice questions. I just think it'll be a little bit easier for people who, don't have, who are trying to do this on their phone or even just doing it on a tablet or computer. Just trying to make this as easy on you guys as possible. So this week we're going to talk about properties of exponents. And the first part of that is going to be multiplying like bases. So basically, if you remember, an exponent has a base, which is going to be, I guess, what I would call the normal sized, either variable or number. And then the exponent tells you how many times to multiply the base by itself. So like x to the third power essentially means x times x times x. So if we did something like have x to the third times x to the fourth, that means we have 3x's multiplied by themselves as well as 4x's multiplied by themselves. So if we put them all together, we could just say that we have, x to the 7th power because you have 3 multiplied, 4 multiplied, put them together, you have 7. So when multiplying like bases, what you're going to do is add their exponents. That's the property that we're going to be talking about. So looking at these examples, when you've got ones like this, these numbers are called coefficients. That just means it's 2 times x and y. So if you have more than one coefficient, you're just going to multiply those together like you normally would, right? So 2 times 3 is just 6. The other thing to keep in mind is that I have an x here and x here, but that first one does not have an exponent. So if that's the case, it means that there's a 1 there. So I recommend that if you ever see an exponent without, a base without an exponent, go ahead and put a 1 there, just so that you remember that it's there. So then I'll just do 1 plus 2, which is going to be x to the third power. Then last, I've got my y's. So again, this one doesn't have one, so I'm going to put a 1. And 2 plus 1 is 3. This would be my final answer. So you're just multiplying the coefficients and adding the exponents. So over here, same thing. I've got my coefficients. I'm going to multiply those together to get 6. Then with my x's, I'm going to add the exponents and get x to the 6th power. And then last, this is the only y that I have. So it's just going to be y to the 4th. It just stays the same. There's nothing to add to it. Just leave it alone. Okay? So the last ones are going to kind of bring back what we did last week with 0 and negative exponents. So remember that anything to the 0 power equals 1. So if you have something to the 0 power, we're just going to cross that off because anything times 1 is equal to itself. Just be careful that you only cross off what the 0 is actually attached to. In this case, it was attached to the x. That 2 is separate. So that 2 is still going to be part of my answer. Then I just have to add the exponents for the y's, and I'm done. Okay? Last, if you have negative exponents, I'm still just going to add. So coefficients will be multiplied. Then I'm going to add together my x's. So negative 1 plus 3 is just squared. with my y's, I've got positive 2 and negative 2. Those added together would be 0. So technically the y's cancel out. They're not there anymore. Just be careful that if you do have a negative, remember it's going to flip to the bottom of a fraction. Okay? But then that's my final answer. So once you finish watching this, just go ahead and try out the Google form. If you have trouble with any of it, feel free to come back and watch the video, pause, fast forward, rewind, whatever you need to do. You can always Google properties of exponents to see if you can find other resources. I hope you all are doing well, and best of luck.